Hello, I am Santosh Khanna, PGT English KV, INS Dronacharya, Kochi, Ernakulam region. In this video, I am going to talk about the chapter Poets and Pancakes, written by Ashokamitran. This chapter was taken from his book, My Years with the Boss at Gemini Studios. Let me tell you something personal here. I had the great fortune, I consider myself blessed to have got an opportunity to meet Ashokamitran in Chennai in the year 2011 while I was attending a course at Meenambakam. Ever since I met him, I don't know what was that strange bond that we shared. We used to have lots of conversations on the phone, we used to discuss many things. In fact, I would listen to him like a child. All those fields of knowledge that he had, he would share his experience, his insights, his ideas, and we used to have long chats. So when I speak about this chapter, I really miss him. In this chapter, Poets and Pancakes, when you prepare for the examination, please take care of these 8 topics. I have put the lesson into 8 categories, 8 topics. The first one, Ashokamitran, the writer himself, what he did at Gemini Studios. That is, he used to cut newspaper clippings and file them. This was his job at Gemini Studios, which he himself laughs at in the lesson. The second important topic is the makeup department of Gemini Studios. In this department, when Ashokamitran describes the functioning of the makeup department, you can see his characteristic humor at its best. There was a strict hierarchy maintained in the makeup department, starting from the chief makeup man, his senior assistant, junior assistant, and then the office boy. Makeup department was also a mini India because there were people from different parts of India, and Ashokamitran says you could see national integration in practice in the makeup department. And the office boy, whose job was to do makeup for those actors who played the crowd in the movies, was very jealous of one of the important figures of Gemini Studios, Kottamangalam Subbu. So the next topic is Kottamangalam Subbu, who was number 2 at Gemini Studios. Kottamangalam Subbu was a multifaceted genius. He was very loyal to the owner of Gemini Studios, the boss, S.S. Vasan. Subbu was a person who was tailor-made for movies. Whenever a movie faced during its making a creative crisis, you could always depend on Subbu. He would come out with any number of alternative creative solutions to the crisis. So naturally, he became quite popular and very close to the boss, S.S. Vasan. Office boy always felt jealous of Subbu's achievements and his popularity. And Subbu was also a writer, a lyricist, director, and an amazing actor. One of his novels is a classic novel in Tamil titled Tillana Mohanambal, which is about the Devadasi system. He was also a very unselfish, improvident, generous, gregarious, and hospitable person, and his house was always the favorite place of visitors. The next topic we come to is the boss himself, S.S. Vasan. He was a journalist, a writer, the owner of Gemini Studios. He was also the editor of the popular Tamil magazine Ananda Vikatan. Before we come to the next topics, we have discussed Ashokamitran, the writer, Kottamangalam Subbu, S.S. Vasan, and makeup department. 4 topics. We still have 4 more topics in the lesson. The 5th one is about the story department of Gemini Studios. You know, in movie making, what importance story and script writing has. There were poets in the story department, SDS Yogiyar, Sango Subramaniam, Harindranath Chattopadhyay, like poets. And Ashok describes the story department where he mentions the presence of another person who was like a man of cold logic among the group of dreamers. He was the legal advisor of the story department, but everybody used to call him illegal advisor because he had ruined the brilliant career of a young actress. Knowingly or unknowingly, it brought an end to her promising career. And his dressing style was quite different from the common uniform that Gemini family followed. He used to wear a coat and loose fitting clothes, whereas Gemini Studio family had always a fascination for khadi and the ethnic Indian dress. This legal advisor, produced a movie and the boss supported him, but that was the end of it. The film was a huge flop and S.S. Vasan closed down the story department. And Ashok says it's the first time in the history where when poets are asked to go home, a lawyer loses his job. The next topic, that is topic number 6, is the life and the political affiliation at Gemini, or the family of Gemini. Life in Gemini Studios, Ashok says, there was a beautiful mess that supplied the best coffee, and that used to be the favorite place where all these creative people would assemble and have discussions. There was a lot of leisure in their life, which according to Ashok is the basic requirement for any creative activity, not only filmmaking but even for poetry. Coming to the political affiliations of Gemini family, they were more of Khadiites and Gandhiites. They worshipped Gandhi. Other than that, they didn't have any specific political affiliation with any party. And the common wave of anti-communist sentiment which was prevalent in South India and other parts of the country was also reflected in Gemini Studios. And most of these people had that slight aversion towards communism. Topic number 7 is the visit by MRA to Gemini Studios. MRA is Moral Rearmament Army, which was a theatre group who came to perform in South India, especially in Madras, and they also performed at Gemini Studios. They staged 2 plays, Jotham Valley and The Silent Factor. These 2 plays had very simple moral sermons for the public, but what made the MRA's performance special was their beautiful costume and the huge sets that they used. The whole Gemini family was waiting for something like a refreshing break, and they could see that in MRA with people from different nationalities performing on stage. And for a long time, the kind of drama that they performed, their narrative technique influenced Tamil drama and Gemini as well, Ashok Mitran records. The reason for MRA's visit to Gemini is what makes the lesson special. The writer Ashok Mitran says, MRA was a counter movement to international communism. Topic number 8, the visit of Stephen Spender, the English poet and editor, to Gemini Studios, and the mystery surrounding his visit. This part usually confuses the learners, but I am trying to explain it here. When Stephen Spender visited Gemini Studios, Ashok Mitran says everyone in the studio got confused. What is an English poet doing in Gemini Studios where they are making simple movies for Tamil people? He was welcomed on stage by Vasan, and from Vasan's welcome address, everybody could understand, even Vasan didn't know much about the poet. And when the poet started speaking, nobody could even decipher a single word because he was thoroughly English in his accent. And what he spoke about, nobody understood. Everyone looked at one another confused. Why did this poet come to Gemini Studios? Even the poet looked confused because he could see the audience, looking surprised at him. There was a mystery about this visit. As I told you, since nobody knew the purpose of his visit, Spender's visit remained a mystery. Now coming to the same part, last subsection, how this mystery was unraveled later. When Gemini Studios was closed down somewhere in the late 1960s and close to 1970s, Ashok Mitran says he had more time and less money. And once when he was going through one of the newspapers, that is the Hindu newspaper, there was an announcement about a short story writing contest organized by a British periodical, The Encounter. So Ashok Mitran wanted to send one of his own short stories for the contest. And he wanted to have a look at the magazine Encounter. So he went to the British Council Library in Madras and opened one of the pages of this editions of this magazine, and there he found the editor's name was Stephen Spender, the same poet who came to Gemini. But the mystery was still not unraveled completely. Wait for that final twist. Ashok Mitran came across a book titled The God That Failed. The God in the title refers to communism. This is a book where 6 people have shared their journey with communism and their disillusioned return, their disappointment with communism. One of the writers in that book is Stephen Spender. That moment, Ashok Mitran understood why Stephen Spender was invited to Gemini Studios, because he was also promoting this anti-communist feeling. The lesson ends with that line where Ashok Mitran says, we may not know much about Spender the poet or his profile as an editor, but everybody, knowingly or unknowingly, were supporting or was supporting the anti-communist feeling reflected in a God that failed. Reading this chapter, you will see how beautifully, how meticulously Ashok Mitran brings to life each and every character of Gemini Studios. He also brings in at times a slight undertone of pathos as well in the lesson. I dedicate this video talk to those special days of my bond with the writer Ashok Mitran. Love you, sir, and I wish you all the best. When you prepare this lesson, search online for more information about Gemini Studios. The studios, as I told you, was closed down long ago. What is erected in its place in Madras now, in Chennai now, you can search. And these are days when all of you are exposed to filmmaking techniques, behind the scenes, BTS. And we have all kinds of information resources available everywhere. So this is a special chapter because it talks about a studio that existed in South India when indoor shooting was more common. These days we have renamed film studios as film cities. Pay a visit to one of the film cities and understand the whole process of filmmaking. Thank you. All the best.